Guys? Let's check the news today. Alrighty. Nothing today. Tomorrow we've got jobless claims. But yeah, nothing today, so we should be good there. Let's hop into it. See what the weekly candle's been doing so far. We're now halfway through the weekly candle, so start to see it kind of flip directions. Looking here at the weekly, the last three previous weekly candles have closed with a low that is actually the last four. The last four have created lows that have respected the previous weekly's low. So we're going to mark each of these, and that way we can look at them when we go down to a lower time frame. Looking at the daily, you can see each of these lows a little better. It's just a little bit of an uptrend here. Looking at our current daily candle, we're still sitting in this big rejection zone right here. So kind of tricky to buy or to take any buys because we're in this zone, but we'll see when we get on the lower time frames if there's any kind of clean move that we could look for here. But yesterday's daily candle put in its low, made a very strong push up and closed higher than any of these were able to do. So there's potential that this candle already put in its low. It starts to flip bullish, that when we could come and test the top of this range up there at those equal highs, and even come test these highs up there. So still good potential for upside if that does happen there. Looking at the 4 hour, this way you can see the structure of the weekly candles a little better. So here's your first low. Here's your first low right here. Made this push up, retrace a little. There's your second low of the week. Next push up. There's that third low. And we just created this channel right here to the upside there. So that's what you see when you see those daily or those weekly candles that are respecting each of the lows. This is what it looks like on the lower time frame. Looks like a nice trend. So that's what you want to see when you're taking buys. You want to see that on the weekly and the daily. You want to see that as well. Give you confirmation on the lower time frames that you're just in an uptrend. But looking here at the 4 hour, we kind of made this impulse up. We did actually break a lot of this structure on the 4 hour. This is just a lot of rejections in there. So we'll see if we just kind of get this kind of retracement here for the next move up, or let's erase all this so it looks a little cleaner here. The only thing is, again, it's just a big rejection zone. So we'll see if we actually do break out of that, or there's a lot of downside here for sells if we were to take them. So a break of that low right there would give us a pretty good opportunity to take that short. Looking here, if that was to break, then we've got about 300 points to the downside after that of clean traffic right here. So good opportunity there if it does drop below the low. Drop a little lower. 5 minute. Tricky for buys here because we've got this high there, this high there, this high there, and that high there. So got this kind of trend line here, kind of creating this channel to the downside. So we're probably going to need a breakout of that, and honestly, it's hard to tell. Probably up there. Really, that's really the safest place you're going to be able to enter a buy here. So probably not going to be able to join in on the buys if it does push up, because it will probably be a very big stop loss. If once we get there, it'll be like 100 points. So we'll see what happens as we get closer, but probably not going to be looking for any buys today. NASDAQ real fast, or at least on US30. We might be able to do it on one of the other pairs. NASDAQ coming into this rejection zone. Last week's candle closed with a rejection. Let's do the same thing we just did on SPX with marking each of these lows, and then we'll drop down in the time frames. You can see what that means, what each of these lows actually mean on the lower time frames. Okay, so each of the weekly lows are marked right there. It's not going to show much on the daily. I mean, obviously you kind of have a little bit of this structure there, but looking at the 4-hour, you're going to see a pretty good uptrend now. Just by marking those lows, you're able to see each of those anchor points there. So now you kind of see the structure that we've put in and what we need to respect if we're going to continue to push up. This low needs to be respected there. This high needs to be broken there in order to get that next push to the upside. So delete all that. Now looking here at the lower time frames, we're going to mark this low right there because, like I said, that's going to have to break if we're going to want to take sells. And similar here, this is just a bigger range. It looks a little more clean on NASDAQ. So we're just chilling within this range right here now. So we'll see if we break out of here. There's even a smaller range right there that we can mark and potentially take some kind of buy or sell on the breakout of this range. I'm gonna mark this low right there, and I'm gonna mark this high right there. So that gives us our new range on the lower time frames. So we can either break out of here and come test the high, or break out below and probably come test these equal lows, potentially break them to the downside. So let's see what happens there. We've got 15 minutes left. Alrighty. SPX. Look at the weekly. Okay, weekly is pretty bullish here. And we've broken out above those highs, but we rejected a little bit last week. So we already put in our low in this previous weekly candle. So all we really need to do is see a break of this level right there, and we're probably going to continue to push bullish and come test 4,300 level, somewhere in there. Drop down daily. So we've got this rejection area now on the daily right here. So it's a little tricky. We're going to mark that high there and this low on the daily, so you can see the range that we're in on the lower time frames now. Same thing as, I believe it's US30. Looks pretty ugly. No, it's NASDAQ. Yeah, SPX and NASDAQ look pretty similar right here. NASDAQ looks much better if we're taking sells, so probably take sells off NASDAQ if we do get that opportunity to. And it looks like it's starting to kind of move down right now. Hopefully we don't break below this level before the opening on NASDAQ, but 5-minute here on SPX, really small range we're in. So we just don't want this to break right now, because once it does break before, we're probably going to miss that move, or it's going to be a fake out. But once that breaks right there, we have a pretty decently small range, so could be a good opportunity to get a pretty high risk to reward trade right here to the downside if it does break out closer to the open. We're going to keep an eye on that. SPX is looking good on the lower time frames. So we'll see what happens there. Let's go take a look at the DXY. Oh boy, that's now what we want to see here. So DXY last week made this fake move to the downside right here. Grabbed that liquidity to the downside and then closed back up within this with strong bullish candle there. And then fast forward to this week's candle, starting on Monday, just push straight up. And that's not really a good sign when you want to see a continuation of that direction. It pushed straight up and never made its retracement. So now it already pushed up, started to reject here. So now it looks like we're going to probably flip this candle back bearish and come test the lows again for the week. Looking here at the daily, kind of makes a little sense because we broke structure here. Let's drop down to the 4-hour. It'll look a little better. Looking at the 4-hour, looking at the 4-hour, you can see we've got all this bearish structure in here. We entered this consolidation zone in there, a lot of liquidity resting below these levels here. And what did we do? We made this quick move to the downside. We sweeped all these lows there and grabbed these liquidity down there and then made that move to the upside. This impulse then broke all this structure within there. Now we're probably looking for some kind of retracement into these levels right there for that next move to the upside. So I'm bullish overall on DXY over next couple weeks for sure. Today we're probably gonna see this make some kind of, just move down. Probably see some kind of flag out to the downside to come test these lows in there, and then start to reject and then flip bullish if it is gonna make that move to the upside. But looking at like 30-minute, you can see how much structure we broke off this impulse move up. So definitely expecting some kind of retracement into 101.5-ish level. So today, I mean, maybe we'll get like a test of the top to create this double top up there and then move down. That'd be cool. So then we can get a move down on indices. But really, I'm expecting this to just keep continuing to the downside to come test these levels before it makes a move to the upside. So keep an eye on that. Let's go down to the 5-minute real fast. Yeah, 5-minute. We're gonna delete this fib. So this is kind of interesting. So we are kind of rejecting this area right there. We created these double bottoms right here. So there's potential for it to drop right here, and after rejecting the 786 there, made a quick move to the downside. So we'll see if we just continue making moves down, or if we start breaking these highs, then we'll make that move to the upside and go test those highs. So not quite sure what we're going to see today. It could go either direction, so it'll be a little tricky, but we've got 10 minutes until the open. Looks like SPX made that move out and closed under there, so we're gonna move that low right there for now. We got 9 minutes until the open. This candle closes in 3 minutes, so we'll give that a little longer. Yeah, Nasdaq and SPX both kind of made the same move, made that push down, rejected. Next candle's pushing up a little bit, so we'll see where this goes from here. We'll pull up the volume too as we get closer to the opening candle. Oh, pop to gold real fast. Start at the top like always. Okay, so gold, looking here, I think we're gonna get a couple weeks of bearishness now. So we had this move to the downside here. This broke all of this weekly structure there, and we started to retrace. It was a pretty fast move up, so that's a little risky, but it's still relatively high time frame. So we made this move to the top up here, we were rejecting there, and then we had this weekly candle close last week with a very strong bearish close here. We put in our high, rejected it, and then dropped straight down for the rest of the week. Closed down here below each of these previous 2 weeks. So this current weekly candle now is just making its high. So all it's going to do is it's going to push up. It could come even up into here, retest this level there, and then start flipping this candle. Once this candle flips to bearish, then we're breaking the previous candle's low, and this is going to push down, and it's really not going to stop until it gets anywhere within 1818. Really down into 1727 is anywhere where it could start to see some kind of slowdown or rejection area. So yeah, I'm expecting this to continue pushing bearish for the next couple weeks. Looking at the daily candles, you'll be able to see a little better of the break of structure we had here. We were sitting in this consolidation area, just kind of consolidating within here on the daily, moving sideways. Then we finally broke out of there after testing that high. US30. Okay, yeah, I'll go back to that in just a sec. Let's look down at like the 30-minute time frame here. You'll be able to see this kind of move to the downside that you can put your fibs on. We're going to delete a couple of these. So yeah, so now you can kind of see this move that we're in. We're consolidating a little bit within this zone here. So we need a breakout, probably going to break out of these highs here to come up and test either this inefficiency here, or most likely come up and test these inefficiencies up in there before we start to see some kind of rejection and move to the downside. So I'm expecting a move up before we see a continuation to the downside. We'll see what happens. Hop to US30. 5-minute, really not doing much here. I can go over this again real fast just because in case you missed this. On the weekly, US30 looks pretty bad. We're just consolidating in here. So a lot of sideways movement there. If you drop down to lower time frames, you're going to see it even better. It's really not going anywhere for now, at least. We've got this high put in there and this high put in there, or this low there. So if we're going to make a move, we're going to have to either break this high up there and make the next leg up, or start to shift structure to the bearish side, and that's going to require a break at this level down in there. So hard to navigate US30. That's why we're not going to trade this today. We're actually going to look at NASDAQ and SPX because these guys are in a clear uptrend here and in the rejection area, so potential for either continuation bullish or a drop below to continue bearish. So looks a lot cleaner too on the lower time frames. So gonna be waiting just a couple more minutes. This candle closes in 5 minutes. It just opened. This is the last 5-minute candle before the open. Change this. Perfect. Yeah. XY, is it going anywhere yet? Looks like we're starting to make that move to the downside. Looking at the 1-minute time frame, kind of putting a little micro structure here in here now. So this low needs to be broken for the next move down. This high needs to be respected, and this high needs to be respected now. So see if it continues to kind of channel down and start to reject within these levels there, or if we start to just break down and break the lows. But yeah, we need to respect this high up there if we're going to continue to retrace a little bit. Let's go to Bitcoin real fast. I was expecting Bitcoin to kind of drop over the next couple weeks, and this weekly candle's kind of giving us a little bit of that confirmation here. So let's look here. You can mark each of these lows. And the last 2 previous weeks have respected each other's low. This current weekly candle has put in its high already, and it's starting to back off this high now. So if this candle starts to flip and break its own low, the chances are after it's doing that it's going to break its own low, then it'll break the previous candle's low, and that kind of shifts structure on the lower time frames there. And you'll see on like the daily, you'll see that breaking structure even better. You'll see these lows being broken here, and we'll start to see a little bit of like a micro downtrend starting to form on the lower time frames. But yeah, right now you're just kind of consolidating within this big area right here. A lot of sideways movement. We need to break at this high if we're going to continue and test maybe like 30,000, or ultimately we need to break at these lows to start to see that retracement that we definitely need, because we had this quick move to the upside there. So hop back here, we're getting close. Yeah, I think today we're gonna take our trade on SPX. We're gonna take sells below 41.40 there. That's not what I meant to do. Sells below 41.40. And then it's a little higher risk, but we can take buys above 41.47. Perfect. So now you can see this consolidation range pretty good on this on SPX that we're in. So that's a good sign. You want to see this right before the open, so that way when you break one, you get a quick move to the upside, kind of acting like as a little momentum builder right now, just building all this liquidity up. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome, Reflex. Okay, DXY starting to kind of push up. On the lower time frames, it's going to look like a break structure here on the 1 minute. So 1 minute microstructure made this move up, entered this consolidation area there, then we dropped out of there. So now could be just creating this flag to the upside, test up here to break this low. But on the lower time frames, if we're going to continue to push down, we need to respect our microstructure here. So these highs need to not be broken up there. So yeah, it's about time for the open here. So we got 1 minute left. Let's open up the volume right here so we can take a look. This candle tried to break out right here. Didn't have very much volume though, so 44 seconds. And I'm actually going to place buy or sell stops right below here. Yeah, I'm going to place sell stops right below there. Probably do a smaller buy stop above there, like a half risk, just because I think the buy is more risky. Yeah. 13 seconds until the open. We'll see which way we go. Here we go. Candles opening up. Hopefully we don't get some kind of whipsaw today. Yesterday is what we had, and it makes it so hard to trade. So, the previous candle right here on the 5-minute had a lot of volume, and it was pushing to the downside. So we'll see what happens. We put in our high here, and we're respecting the previous candle's high for now. So we'll see if that continues to be the case. If that does happen and we start to flip bearish, then good sign that we're going to break this and continue pushing to the downside. Continue pushing down. Okay, here comes our flip bearish. So we'll see if we break these lows. Then really we should be safe putting our stop above that high, because it should not come and test that again if we do break the lows. So it's good to see the first, half of this 5-minute candle make the retracement up, so the second half can start to flip and break this to the downside. It's generally what you want to see. So now we already put in our high, we respected this, so now if it does break below, we can take this trade right there, and stop will be right above that candle, and target right there. So starting to break out, got close to our buy stop. My buy stop on my broker's a little different price, I think. 41.38 is my price. Yeah, it's somewhere, it's a little bit lower than these wicks, so we'll see what happens. I haven't gotten triggered in anything yet. And then I've also got a buy stop right above this level, 41.47, 41.48 level. So delete that for a sec. Not making its move yet. A little bit indecisive on this candle, so we will see. Starting to push up potentially. Let's look at the other ones. Nasdaq's making a move to the upside, and US30's dropping here. So based on the history, I imagine Nasdaq and SPX are about to make a push to the upside, just because US30 is dropping and the other two have not been following it. So the XY is pushing straight up though, so we probably will see this drop. We might see SPX drop out. Nasdaq making a decent move to the downside. SPX, we actually got triggered into that right there. So we'll see if we continue pushing down. There, so, okay. Should be good. Take profit 1 is going to be right there. And final take profit, it's going to be this low down there. It's a long ways away, so pretty good risk to reward if we can get that to hit. Uh, 1 minute left on this candle. We need it to push down and close somewhere with underneath this range. If it sucks back up in there, then I'm probably going to close my position. So how this candle closes in the next minute will tell us if we're gonna continue down or if we're gonna just consolidate for a little bit longer. Because generally this is not what you want to see when you have this kind of volume coming into the market. It's not making any strong moves. It's just kind of consolidating, pushing back and forth on the lower time frames. Like if you look at the 1 minute, it's just bouncing back and forth, rejecting back and forth. So definitely not a good sign here. And we have no idea which direction it's going to go right now because NASDAQ's projecting. Now US30 is pushing up and DXY is still pushing up. So everything is pushing up right now. We'll just have to wait and find out what's going to happen. This candle is about to close as a doji potentially. It's got 5 seconds left. It's 5-minute candle. So yeah, I'm actually going to close my position here. Just mitigate risk because there's no point in being in this. No point in being in it when it looks like this crappy structure. So see what happens, but really not making any kind of moves. Yesterday took a lot of the volume out of the market with those moves because nothing moved overnight. Yeah, look at that 5-minute close on NASDAQ. That's a terrible candle. You don't want to trade when it looks like this. So, yeah, there's not going to be a trade for us today again. So, need some kind of good structure to form because looking like the last 2 days, you just had whipsaws. And if you look at US30, just in this range, there's nothing in there. You don't get any direction in there because it's hitting both the top and the bottoms. The high and the low up in here, so yeah, no volume or no momentum. We're not pushing anywhere right now, so I think we're just gonna call it a day there because I'm not expecting this to make any kind of good move right now, especially with how those candles close. So if anything, it's probably gonna push and break to the upside now, break these highs and continue pushing up after this big rejection down there, but let's find out. So that's gonna do it for me today, guys. So I'll see you back here tomorrow. So